Now, President Bola Tinubu assigned portfolios to ministers last week, and they were sworn in on Monday. All eyes are on them to deliver the renewed hope mandate of the president. Now, the president had previously stated that Nigerians want quick and fast solutions. He also made it clear that nobody should pity him as he asked for this job and has no excuse but to deliver. Welcome to Standpoint. I'm Ibrahim Shita. From the splitting of ministries and creation of some, it's obvious that increasing revenue is the president's target, which is very good, you must say. But then Nigeria currently has a debt profile of 49.85 trillion naira. No doubt, we need to improve our revenue to undertake some key infrastructure projects and some other things that needed to be brought on board by the president to ensure that this administration deliver on the mandate that the people who has ensured that the incumbent party won the election. So for many Nigerians, the new minister must hit the ground running, not expecting them to spend the next 6 months brainstorming. Then they are also not interested in hearing fairy tales as they want to see quick results. We'll talk about so many things and other expectations from the ministerial appointment that we witnessed in this recent days, where we have new ministers who have been sworn in by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So we'll be speaking on the program with a political analyst, Ibrahim Garba, who will be joining us later on the show. And then talking to us now would be the Director General, Citizens Campaign Council, Japhet Obweri. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Obweri.
The pleasure is all mine from here in Abuja.
Now I can see that a lot of Nigerians really look like they are not willing to wait. But then, weeks after the screening and confirmation, President Tinubu, who now made the ministers made them swear oath of allegiance and then ensure that they have a lot of things to do. What are your thoughts on efforts by some of the ministers to hit the ground running as expected by Nigerians?
All right. It is a welcome development, especially coming now that the ministers have been given the go-ahead order to kickstart the administration running. The ministries are the engine house, whereby the projects, policies, and programs of government are implemented. Now, for example, there must be proper articulation of the policies and established mandate of the ministries before any program or project can be implemented. The ministers have to first of all understudy the established mandate of their ministries. I just want to give you an example of what just happened. During the formal administration of the President Muhammadu Buhari, the former Minister of Education came on air and actually told Nigerians that before he was appointed as Minister of Education, he knew nothing about the ministry. That means it took him more than 4 years to learn. That is why the ministry was almost not almost in existence. You understand, throughout the 8 years tenure of Mr. President. Now I am actually advocating and advising the honorable ministers who have been selected to make sure they understand the mandate of their ministry. It is very, very, very essential. The major problems we have in this country is lack of proper articulation of the underlying principles and mandates of the ministries. That is why we have very poor perceptions of the problems we face. That is why after 4 years, 8 years, the majority of the ministries end up achieving nothing. And who is to be blamed? The honorable ministers for crying out loud, because that's the bulk rests on their table. Now, for example, also, I think there was something I actually found out, which of course is a bit worrisome. I've actually seen that majority of the projects they call constituency projects from the National Assembly members are domiciled in the ministry. That means the ministry do not even have most of their own projects to execute. They end up executing projects tagged constituency projects, which leads to duplication of projects, which gives room for falsification of projects, which gives room to corruption. So it is very, very essential for these ministries to be able to understand what they are supposed to do. You understand?
Right.
So that's exactly what we are crying out loud.
Right. So you are concerned.
Who are working should keep the ground running first of all by understanding the mandate they are sitting upon. There are ministries that are supposed to, you understand, fast track, developmental projects of government. And when you look at the Ministry of Works, the 98% of federal projects in the South East have been abandoned. Let's take an ample example, Port Harcourt Enugu Expressway, which of course it has gone very far. But from the Aba section to Port Harcourt section, it is the worst road on this planet Earth. When you look at the other section from Enugu, that is from the Obola from Soka to the section that leads to the Benue State, Amba, Otuba, thereabout, that road is impassable. Those are the priority areas the ministers must look upon. I just watched yesterday the Honorable Minister of Works. He went to the section, the Abuja Kaduna section of the road, which of course, I think from what I heard yesterday was just 20% completed. So those are priority projects. If the infrastructures are not working, poverty will continue to remain. There is a correlation between the nation's development as well as infrastructure development with the human development. There is correlated. So the more developed the infrastructures are, it shows that the more developed the nations will be, and that is going to be the more developed the people will be. So if we don't have infrastructures that are functioning in this nation, the nation cannot be categorized as a developing nation. It is going to directly affect the people also.
Absolutely. Mr. Igbori, allow me to butt in. Allow me to butt in. I can see that because we're going to look at the brass tacks, for this.
Be a bit louder. I'm not hearing you much.
Okay, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes.
Right. I'm saying that we'll look at we'll get to the brass tacks, of these different ministerial appointment offices that are being, allotted by the president to the various ministers. But then, are you not concerned because the president actually said during the inauguration that, the ministers need to prioritize interest and shun regional and primordial considerations. And we know that when people are given appointments in this country, or if they are able to win elective positions, you have their people who will be saying, listen, this is our own time. It's a time for us to enjoy. It's a time for us to marry. How do you think it's possible for them, considering that burden that they might be facing from their own constituents, that might mitigate against their own ability to deliver?
If I actually got what you just said very right, I think it's going to be it's a problem on the side of those who have been appointed. We actually look at appointments as a kind of compensation for political endeavors or political inputs someone has made. That is number one. When you look at the other side of it also, practically we have more poor persons in the society in Nigeria than those who are actually above the middle class. And the average Nigerian actually lives much on the circular nature of expectation. That means every man, every woman appointed in government, we expect a lot from them. We used to have something called Stonework infrastructure. I think that was one of the mantras that were deduced in the previous administrations. But it is not supposed to be so. Where the local government councils are functioning, where the state governments are functioning, there are going to be less pressure on the federal government to execute projects. I actually blame much of these things on the ineffectiveness, ineptitude of the local government administration. They receive volumes of amount of money on a monthly basis as local government allocations, but they end up doing nothing with it. If every man comes from a local government area, everybody mounting pressure and demanding something from the ministers come from a local government area. So if the pressures are reduced at the level of the local government areas, if the pressures are reduced at the level of the state government areas, you find that there will be little pressures at the level of the federal government. the minister will not feel much, pressure, because everybody coming from his constituency, first of all, comes from a local government area. The ministers must not see their appointment as a kind of compensation because they had only one vote. They voted once, only one vote they had. Every other Nigeria, including me and you, voted once. Unless you voted twice, that means you are liable to be actually prosecuted for multiple voting. In as much as those ministers had just one vote, just like me and you, there is no much expectation attached to it. What Nigeria needs is delivery. What Nigeria needs is moving this government forward. The government came up, the President President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whom was accepted by Nigerian masses on a popular mandate, came out with a policy thrust of his government named renewed mandate. Within the enclave of the renewed mandate lies infrastructural development, lies poverty alleviation, lies completion of projects. You understand? And it is only these ministries that can be able to effectively implement these things. So the ministers must sit up and don't think that that office given to them is for them to either aggrandize themselves or actually to look or actually carry along their constituencies as the case may be. Just if I had you right anyway. Right. So that is what I'm looking at. The ministries or the ministers per se are not a kind of agents to carry people along. No.
Okay. Yeah. Your point is made. Your point is made regarding that, and we need to raise.
Nigerians very wrong impression that there is too much money in the system, especially among the ministries. So I may not blame those Nigerians or those constituents who may be mounting pressures on them to get something from them. You understand?
I can see how passionate. Sorry, Mr. Ogweri, allow me to jump in. Can you hear me? Okay. I can see how passionate you are about this administration being able to deliver on the dividends of democracy. Let's take this one after the other. For instance, let's start from a very sacrosanct ministry, which is the Ministry of Finance. With debt overhang of over dozens of trillion, an employment rate of 33%, an inflation rate of 24.08%, and an unstable and weak naira. How would you describe the task ahead of the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun? Do you feel that he's definitely going to come under pressure to do something about the weakening naira? Mr. Ogweri, can you hear me? All right. Looks like we're having a bit of connectivity issue with Mr. Ogweri. We'll try to do that as soon as we can to continue this conversation, very important conversation. But in the meantime, let's bring you a report on the swearing in of the incumbent ministers that we have now in Nigeria.
The ministers take the oath of office by pledging allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. These ministers will execute and implement the plans, programs and policies of President Bola Tinubu's administration. With their portfolios assigned to them, they have their jobs cut out already. President Tinubu sees this inauguration as a major step in the life of his administration towards the actualization of his renewed hope agenda. He says the new ministers must work to promote national interest without ethnic, sectional or religious sentiments.
With such honor comes tremendous responsibility. In this moment of abundant promise and peril in equal measure, all of you who have been sworn in have been called to distinguish yourself. Minister of Federal Republic you are, not minister of a region or minister of a particular state.
Now the ball has been set rolling. These men and women, 45 of them, now members of the Federal Executive Council, will resume at their desk in the various ministries to drive the vehicle of governance. President Tinubu has told them that the challenges that lie ahead are daunting, but there is a silver lining as they begin to implement long overdue reforms to transform the economy and bring peace and prosperity to the people.
My portfolio has been a shocker to most people. It has been the major upset of the entire cabinet portfolio assignment. However, it's been deliberate. It's deliberate because whoever has an analytical mind will know that the hydrocarbon world, the world is moving away from hydrocarbon. Oil is even on the downward trend in global economy. You now have electric cars, you have gas, you have alternative fossil fuel and all of that. So the world is moving away gradually from oil. So solid minerals is the next growth factor of the Nigeria's economy.
Nigerians are watching, Nigerians are waiting. It's time for true service accountability, and we believe that by the grace of Almighty God and the support of Mr. President, we will be out there on the road 24 hours every single day to ensure that millions of Nigerians are elevated from poverty while we attend to humanitarian needs across board.
And I think all the expectations have been put into words by the President during the inauguration. So it's left for us to roll up our sleeves as ministers in his cabinet to ensure that the renewed hope agenda finds a strong footing.
I'm glad the President also included food security as part of agriculture. That's to say, to secure the food that the country needs. Not only that we have export potentials, but I believe that we can feed the country adequately and also export whatever that is left. So we should be able to achieve our target.
The first Federal Executive Council meeting is expected to be convened in the coming days. And just like President Tinubu, Nigerians have high hopes and expectations from the ministers as they carry on their newly assigned tasks. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Interesting stuff. We've been talking about the ministerial appointments and the tasks ahead of them. And I've been speaking with the Director General, Citizens Campaign Council, Japhet Uweri. Let me confirm whether you're back there, if you can hear me now.
I'm here with you.
Right, interesting. So I was trying to find out your thoughts as regards the challenges that we are facing in the country, talking about the task ahead of Mr. Wale Edunda as the Minister of Finance. Because I was saying that we've got debt overhang of over dozens of trillion, employment rate of 33%, and inflation rate well over 24%, and an unstable and weak naira. So do you feel that the minister will be under severe pressure to do something about the weakening naira?
Is strictly an economic, you understand, an economic kind of ministry, which of course does more on financial regulations. But personally, what I understand most is that the value of a currency of a nation determines the equilibrium of the economy of such a nation. There is no way the naira will be as much as 890 naira to a dollar, and you expect the prices of goods and services, you understand, to be very much minimal. The dollar price determines almost every other thing, economic-wise, prices, even the developmental process of this nation. So the task for Honorable Minister of Finance is very simple. Most fundamentally, he must reach out to the Honorable the CBN governor to sit down first of all to understand the dynamics that makes Nigerian naira so unstable against the dollar and the other foreign exchange. We have come to a stage in this nation whereby pragmatic approaches should be used to tackle every other problem bedeviling this nation. As far as the foreign exchange remains very high, it is very, very impossible for Nigerians not to remain in poverty. Prices of goods and services have skyrocketed. So the first and foremost function of the Honorable Minister of Finance is to map out strategies on how to make sure that Naira and dollar, if they are not equal, there should be very little difference between Naira and dollar. For example, there was a kind of redenomination policy that was brought in by the former CBN governor, I think, Professor Charles Soludo. They were looking at the process whereby the Naira will be redenominated, you understand, to actually have a value that is closer to the dollar. If the Honorable Minister is very genuine in his job, that is his first function. He must promulgate a policy that will make Naira near dollar. The dollar should not be more than 50 Naira per dollar. Until that is done, it is going to be a very Herculean tax for him to actually achieve these indices you have actually said. You understand?
Right.
He must.
Right. So yeah, it's much more.
Herculean tax for him to actually achieve the thing. He has to sit down with the CBN government with dollar.
Correct. So
Nigeria does not have much money in foreign reserves. Most of we don't even transact much on dollars, if not on the political circles. We won't even import much. We don't even, apart from petroleum products, Nigeria don't import much. The food you eat actually is produced in Nigeria. Most of the food you eat are produced. A lot of the ones want to actually luxuriate. Most of what we eat are produced in this country, and that is the major side that concerns Nigerian citizenry. The cars, the other ones are just luxurious, goods and services that can be taxed. So if the Honorable Minister is very genuine, if you actually want to kick the ground running, the first thing first is to make sure there is a plan, there is a policy or a program that will make sure that Nigerian Naira is near in value to the dollar and to the pounds and to the to the Dutch mark and the rest of those foreign currencies. That is where we know that is very serious. Until that is done, I will not even take them serious.
Well, that's that. You've also described it, Mr. Bueri. You've also described it as Herculean task, and of course, Nigerians know that these tasks before the ministers are not something that they can easily just get into and assume it's just going to work that way without having proper plan. But then, Mr. Aidun will also face the additional responsibility of coordinating the economic activities of other ministries, because it's not just the Ministry of Finance alone. And you also need to ensure adequate synergy among departments and agencies of government. What sort of framework or policy coordination do you think it needs to have at the back of his mind?
We have taken time to see how most of the countries in Africa are doing. Those whose currencies are at par with the foreign currencies are suffering. Those whose currencies are closer in value to the foreign currencies are actually seem to be better. Every country determines its economic policies. We will not allow International Monetary Fund, we will not allow World Bank to decide what we should do with our own financial policies. We must have our own elementary financial policies that must be different from what they expect from us. We have been submerged under the World Bank policy, under the valuation policy of International Monetary Fund, yet they have not yielded any fruit. Right now, we need to localize our economic policies to actually suit what Nigeria yearns. Enough of those stories. Whatever the yardsticks and those there are things they always put up a kind of hiccups for the country to actually where we even need them is when we are borrowing. With all due respect, Nigeria has all it takes to develop itself. We don't need to borrow outside. I am telling you categorically, some individuals in this country can give us 1 trillion naira to actually develop. If we bring 7 individuals in this country, 7 rich men that can give us 7 trillion naira, we don't even need to borrow. We can borrow internally. If we can source funds internally, then we may not need external influence to determine how our naira fares. This is what has to do us. It's our own personal. It's something that has to be personal to us as Nigerians. It has to do with us. We did not fare well with the international policies of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and the rest of such unilateral and multilateral agencies that actually, hampered our development. Absolutely. It is for us to look inward to find our development. As the Bible said, every nation, every man must look for his own way of salvation. It is time to salvage Naira. Naira represents the total value of this nation.
Your point is made.
Our strength as a nation is tied to our Naira. When dollar was equivalent to Naira, if Nigeria was actually developing at the same pace with China, India, and the rest of such.
Yeah, Mr. Worry, because of our time, I think it's a very convenient place for us to leave the conversation. You've actually touched on a lot of things, and I know that if we have more time, there will be much and much more that you want to also talk about. But because of our time, we need to let you go. Director General, Citizens Campaign Council, Japhet Ogbere, thank you so much for your keenness of insight on this issue.
Before you close, there's something I actually want to input. Please, can you give me...
Right. Mr. Ogbere, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your insight on this very important topic. You're watching Standpoint on TVC News. We've been talking about the President Bola Tinubu's assignment of portfolios to ministers, which was done sometime last week, and they were sworn in on Monday. All eyes have been on them to deliver the renewed hope mandate of the president. And I spoke with the Director General, Citizens Campaign Council, Japhet Ogbere, who shared his own concern as regards the portfolios of the ministers and what they should do to ensure that this country enjoys the dividend of democracy of this administration. I'll continue this conversation by speaking with a political affairs analyst, Ibrahim Garba, who is joining me from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for joining us on Standpoint. I would like to take this conversation from where I left off with Mr. Ogbere. But because we're in Abuja, let's talk about the affairs there. The new minister, Nyesom Wike, has spoken tough, talking about what the expectations for Nigerians when it comes to the administration of the FCT. As it plans to improve the security and sanitation in Abuja in his first 6 months in office, what factors do you think he should consider in, when revisiting or updating the master plan for Abuja's development?
Oh, well, thank you very, very much for having me once again. It's not new again that we have ministers being sworn into office and a lot of expectations from Nigerians across board to see them deliver at the highest level. Talking about Barrister Nyesom Wike, who is not new to Nigerians, has been there in Rivers State for over for a period of 8 years, 2 terms in office. Coming to Abuja is no longer new to him. He's used to the terrain. Abuja, as you know, is the federal capital territory, and much is expected from him because for several years, I think there's a drop in performance. If you go through several people that led Abuja in the past, I think one of the biggest challenges is going to face is the community the structure that it has that we have on ground. You find that in Abuja that there's a lot to be done in terms of traffic control, a lot of abuses here and there, so many areas that are not supposed to be in the master plan. People, because they have the resources, try as much as possible, to build up structures which are not supposed to be there. So we have flooding in Abuja, we have parks in Abuja that are not supposed to be there. So there are so many things that need to be done in Abuja. So when he came on board and said he's going to resort to the master plan, that shows he's determined to make sure Abuja becomes safer for the people. Abuja is the federal capital, which we hope and believe, and at the same time, Abuja is a place that works for all. I think Nyesom Wike has the capacity to turn things around in Abuja.
We know Mr. Wike is a no-waste timer. He is definitely someone who will want to get, he has actually hit the ground running. Well, unfortunately, the collapsed building that happened, just a few hours ago in Abuja, just like a day or two. If the minister, and the minister has also spoken tough, talked tough on that, but if the minister, Nyesom Wike, makes real his threat to demolish illegal structures, reclaim undeveloped lands, speak to what initiatives you think it can implement or can be implemented to promote affordable housing and then prevent the displacement of lower income communities due to this gentrification. while he is maintaining its status as a political center of the nation?
Well, that is a very huge challenge because people automatically become used to a certain lifestyle that if you are going to stop them, it's as if maybe you are denying them their rights, their privileges and all that. Yes, a lot of people veer off the master plan, and the buildings are, erected in areas that, they are not even, they are not in the master plan for the Federal Capital Territory. You still find out some areas on water runways. You find out, there are buildings that because they have political might, they have to set it up. You find out shops that are not supposed to exist, they have been set up. So there's a lot of rot in the system. So for him to hit the ground running, like I told you earlier on, some things need to be in place. First, you carry out a research, areas that needs to be, developed. There are some roads up to now that are not fully, they are not fully constructed to ease transportation for people. And there are areas, I don't want to use some kind of funny words here, but we don't need to see ghettos around Abuja. Let us go back to the master plan by building affordable houses for people, because we have so many civil servants here living far away from the city center. You find out people are living far away up from Nyanya and some other places like that. These are hard times for workers, especially now that costs of living is high. There are so many things that need to be taken into consideration if you have to resort to master plan. But then you shouldn't do anything that will hurt the original inhabitants of Abuja, because a lot of people came here to settle, and they have been here for several years. So whatever you are going to do is going to be in sync with people that are already existing in the Federal Capital Territory, so that I don't deny them their rights. But I believe Nyeso Wike, with his huge experience, even if he's talking tough, is a gentleman. He has to key into Mr. President's plan of restoring the master plan and, giving us that renewed hope which Mr. President promised Nigerians.
Interesting stuff. So we'll definitely wait to see how Abuja is going to, be made, the FCT is going to look like something that will be accepted globally and seen as a real political center of Nigeria. So let's talk about the lobbying and controversy, because recently the president, before the taking of oath, the swearing of oath, he reshuffled some, before they even took their portfolio, hit the ground running, he changed some portfolios, changed some ministers, and did some tweaking here and there. But there is no minister of youth. Talk to us about the lobbying and controversy surrounding this appointment of Minister of Youth. Who do you think the cab fits for this?
Well, this is a very tough one for me because we have a cross-section of Nigerians that can fill in the gap. Even before we talk about that, you can see the composition of the federal cabinet. I have to remind you of one thing. Our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a man of experience, is a technocrat, has been there several years. Even if he's out of government, he's somebody that discovered talents. You can see from previous administration when Buhari was in office, some of the people he brought on board, they delivered at the highest level. So Nigerians should give him that benefit of doubt, let him sit down and plan. Whoever he has introduced to the system, he believes, is working with a plan of Mr. President. Now, away from that, some weeks ago, or rather some few days back, there were reports around town that, there is pressure on Mr. Tinubu to appoint Sheyi Tinubu, the first son, the son, as the Minister for Youth Development and all that. Yes, well, Sheyi is as qualified as any other Nigerian, if not for the fact that he came from the first family. For me, I will put my vote, I'll put my money on Sheyi Tinubu, because he's somebody who I've seen who has done so much during the the campaign period. He supported Mr. President with his money. He donated so many homes and all that. A lot of people felt the impact of Sheyi Tinubu. So I consider him first as one of those that should have filled in that void. But away from that, we have so many distinguished Nigerians across the board. But let me take you.
You want to? I'm not sure, because looking at what happened in Ondo State, and where we have someone close to the incumbent being appointed into such critical positions, Nigeria might not want to take something. They might not want to go, in that road. But then let's leave that to Nigerians, the president, to decide who he feels the cap will definitely fit. We are having the ripple effect of the removal of fuel subsidy, and then prices of goods and services have actually gone up, and it has also affected some other things. And then the administration is racing to address these issues. The incumbent minister for humanitarian and poverty alleviation, Betta Edu, says that the federal government intends to work closely with state governors, local governments, and community leaders to verify and update the social register of the country. Speak to the palliative measures that the federal government has done so far in ensuring that the trying times for Nigerians is brought to the bare minimum.
Well, as you know, like I mentioned earlier, Mr. President knows, people that have capacity. I'm happy you mentioned Betta Edu, who is the Minister for Humanitarian and Poverty Alleviation. I think, to me, Mr. President has done so well by bringing such personality on board. She did it. People know she has the capacity to deliver. Yes, in the past, there are some errors that were noticeable by some, political groups, especially during the COVID-19 period. You find out some of these palliatives that were sent to governors, they find themselves in the warehouse, they were not delivered. So people went around, discovered those places and were looted. And we begin to ask why it happened that way. And on that level, coming on board, like I listened to her recently, she said, yes, we have a list which from different states of the Federation, in which the governors are complaining that, yes, they are not being carried along. And she made a pledge to Nigerians that, yes, she's going to work on those lists. She's going to upgrade them, look at them critically and see how it can be captured. But you see, my advice here is this. For you to connect with those at the lower spectrum of the society, certain things have to be put in place. If you are conveying goods, for instance, from the Lagos port to any part of the country, there should be a tracking device. People should be there to track the movement of these vehicles, or rather these goods, to all the states of the Federation. That's one. And number two, it's not for me, it's not right for the minister to work with the governors directly. Appoint maybe councillors from the local government that can help you identify these people, these poorer people at the local communities, because they are closer to them. We are talking about local government administration. From there, you will be able to know that, yes, these things are, the intention of Mr. President is felt by those people at the local level. But a situation whereby you find out that, most of these things, palliatives provided by the federal government does not get to the right people at the right, in the right places. It affects governance, and people will begin to complain. And that is why, under this administration, we are praying and we are advising. Of course, we are going to work with the minister, advising how what should be done. But the most important thing is identifying those that are at the lower spectrum of the society, getting across to them, then giving timeline. Between the time these goods move from the port to the hinterland, how many days does it take? And these goods, were they distributed? We can use pictures, we can use video to send this across to the Honorable Minister, even if she cannot be there. But then you must work with the local people, not meeting the governors who already they want to give us something that we call political patronage, because these people were there for them. No, this thing was cut across the 774 local governments of the country. So I believe the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, I believe she has the mandate of Mr. President to deliver, and I see her as somebody, the eye of Mr. President, that will help him, cushion the effect of this subsidy removal. But again, I must warn, the 5 billion naira palliatives being sent to the governors should be fair to us by making sure that these monies are put to profitable use, so that people can feel the impact of this administration. That's my candid advice.
It's actually interesting, because I was actually going to ask you what do you think the role of the governors should be in ensuring that people feel less of the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy. But let's change tack by looking at the marine and blue economy as one of the newly created ministries. Judging from the antecedents of former governor of Osun State, Gboyega Oyetola, do you see the newly appointed minister being able to fully grasp and understand the concept and important role of this unique and innovative ministry?
Thank you very much. You know, every portfolio comes with job description. And you should understand that Gboyega Oyetola is a man with experience, the man that navigates, all stratas of, or rather the man that has been around governance for quite some time now. So giving him this new role assigned to him by Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu knew right from the start that this man has the capacity to deliver. Talking about blue economy, a lot of revenue has been lost on the high seas because we have not taken time to study, the potentials of the deep blue sea. The deep blue sea, is a concept on its own. It's something that has to do with the Gulf of Guinea. We have a lot of money being wasted there. There are opportunities within the fishery area. There are opportunities within the marine. There are also opportunities within the NPA. So coming on board, I believe it's not as if he's new to it. All he needs is a job description and the team to work with. He can even outsource jobs when necessary. So whichever portfolio one is given, the most important thing is giving that person a GD, what we call job description. I believe with his experience and passion for Nigeria, he will deliver. I see him as somebody that will deliver at the highest level and shock Nigerians. Because a lot of people have been talking so much about the blue economy. They don't know the quantum of resources lying there. But by this time, within the next 6 months, Nigerians will begin to feel the impact of the deep blue sea. That I assure you.
Right. One of the ministries that actually, one of the appointments that shocked a lot of Nigerians is the Minister of Solid Minerals. And, we've seen different mining activities, illegal mining activities, insecurity around it and all of that. And the minister himself, Dele Alake, said that he was assigned that portfolio because of the trust the president has for him. And because he's also been there working with the president over time, and the president believes that he can deliver on this mandate. He also talked about moving away from the hydrocarbon to tapping from the benefits of this ministry. Did it come to you as a shocker? And what are your expectations and the tasks that you think it might be, the challenges you think he might be facing while delivering on his tasks?
Oh, well, thank you very much for this question. A lot of people never knew how rich we are in this country. Nigeria is richly blessed. Every part of this country is richly blessed with, mineral resources. And to answer your question correctly, the minister has to hit the ground running by taking, a big step forward, connecting with the artisanal miners, which we have across board. That is one. Then number two, we have illegal miners all over the places. A lot of revenue is being lost. I will begin to find out, is it with connivance of the state governors or maybe some few people within the state, manipulating and giving these people the privilege to loot the economy. We have so much. If you go to Ogun State, if you go to Kano State, a lot of places we have, states of the Federation, we have so much mineral deposit. But you need the political will to develop and at the same time make it commercial. So to that, I believe, one, you should have meeting with the critical stakeholders, one of which is the artisanal miners, and at the same time give licenses to those who have the capacity to mine these resources. It's a win-win situation. Government cannot be everywhere. We expect that, yes, the private sector play their own role, and if you don't connect with these artisanal miners, that is the wrong step you're going to take. But a situation whereby the Honorable Minister, like I said, go beyond the confines of the office, go deep down, interface with these artisanal miners. They will give you the original solution, what can be done, and they will tell you what they have been going through, because we find out foreign nationals looting this country through the back door. But I know Mr. President's vision for the solid minerals, and I know Mr. President's vision towards, revamping the economy, bringing in experts so that we can make, we can make an impact across the world. Nigeria is richly blessed. So having him as a minister, one of the things I'll tell him is, please take your time, work with the artisanal miners, go through the template which you have with the handing over notes, but then it is easier said than done. You have the solid minerals is one huge challenge to Nigerian economy. I expect him to do something about it.
Yeah, we need to call it a wrap. But before I let you go, I'd like to squeeze in this question, because we know that all of these ministers might not be able to deliver on their mandate if the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, doesn't, help them in terms of preparation of budget, appropriation, and budget padding and all of that. But with regardless of that, the president said that he would hold them to standard of them being able to work and deliver. And this is the president speaking to the key performance indicators. So what should inform the terms of these performance indicators, and how often should their KPIs be reviewed? Monthly, weekly, very quickly, be fast with your response.
This is a new administration. And because it's new, they have a template to work with. But I believe Mr. President should not tell you what to do, how you go about it. You should do it. Maybe you should have a plan, probably maybe weekly reports, monthly reports, bi-monthly and all that. You now do a critical assessment where we are today, where we should be in 2-3 months' time. Maybe a quarterly review of your performance and those within your cabinet, because the biggest challenge is those administrators who have the directors, who have other staff members that could help you to succeed. But whereas you find out you are not connecting with them, you're going to have problem. So if you assign them, just like Wike has done, they say, if you're not ready to work with me, you ship out, you move to another ministry. I believe every serving minister under this administration, look into the eyes of Mr. President. Right. What he assigned you to do has a timeline. And don't think you are there for tea party. If you don't deliver in one quarter, if you don't deliver in 6 months, he will shock you.
Fantastic stuff. That's brilliant contributions you've made there, Ibrahim Gerba. That's a political analyst, a political affairs analyst. Thank you so much for your insight on this very important topic that we discussed today on Standpoint. Thank you very kindly for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's our show on Standpoint today. Thanks so much for watching, for keeping our company. We'll definitely bring you an interesting conversation next edition. Do stay with us oftentimes on TVC News. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Bye for now.